Hello and welcome back. Today it's all about low light photography. I'll be editing 3 photos in darktable using the AGX module and others. The first photo is a concert photo. The second one is an ICM, so that's intentional camera movement taken when it was dark. And the third one is a landscape photo taken around about sunset. That's the program. I hope you enjoy it. I'm Nicholas and let's do this together. Let's start with this photo taken during a concert for the local tango dance club. AGX is on by default, otherwise we would get these awful magenta colours. Exposure seems to be okay. Let's have a look at exposure. Now I usually change exposure by pressing on E and moving the mouse wheel. If that doesn't work, you can go up to this keyboard, define keyboard shortcuts up here, and you place it over the cursor. Now over the cursor seems to be kind of like this halfway up. Press on E and move the mouse wheel until it actually says, yes, I'll do it. I think it wants to remove it there. And now it's working again. And then press on keyboard to get rid of that. And it should be working. You should be able to move the exposure with E. So I want to brighten the exposure quite a lot. And I think we need to get some sense of light. And then I'll add some contrast to that afterwards. The main work will be on AGX here. So I'll go to the eyedropper to set white point, black point automatically. I can change the contrast, but I don't want to change it too much because otherwise we're losing the detail on the faces of the musicians. So we want to get some kind of sweet spot there. I want to get some more colour back into these lights. And these lights here were more blue than this kind of pale cyan colour. Now shoulder power, we can move that up quite a lot to get some brightness in the brights, and we'll get some contrast back rather than using the contrast slider which changes the slope of this line here. We can use toe power to make it kind of make these middle darks darker. In the advanced curve parameters, we could actually change the shoulder start if you want even more contrast in the brights, because if you see what it's doing, it's pushing the beginning of the shoulder instead of starting at the central point, the shoulder. So this is a straight line and the curve starts here, which is going to push up some values in these middle brights. That's exactly what it's doing, look. And we can use that to get some more contrast in the highlights. And the toe start would be exactly the same thing as if you want to crush the blacks a bit quicker, which actually would be maybe quite a good idea for this image. Now let's go into the primaries to sort out the colours. We have here we're on blend alike. We could try smooth and we could try unmodified. We don't want to do that. So it's between smooth and blend alike, and I think I prefer smooth here because it's more colourful. So the work is already going back. We're simplifying things. I wanted to get some more colour back, and the colour is going back there. Red attenuation, you see, is down, is 10. I could attenuate that to get a nice black and white image there. If I think that the colour, what I'm looking for is artifacts here. I'm not trying to make the colours right. So either edges that are too sudden, or I get some red on the, in some places I've put it to 0. You see I get too much red sometimes on the faces. I'm going to move that up. It was on 10. I'm going to move it up much further, up to about 35. Green attenuation here is of no use to me, so I'm going to put that at 0 because there's not much green in the image. So nothing's clipping in the green channel. And the blues here, I can get some nice smooth colours. I'm looking for smoothness. And then I want to see if I can now reverse the purity. So that needs to be moved up to start with. And then the purity boosts, I can get some more reds in the reds here, you see, if I do too much or not enough. So I'm going to get just enough red in to get the nice transitions between the brights and the darks. And the blue purity, I'm going to move this just until I get some nice transitions between the brights and the darks. Now, as for the rotation of the blues, I could try that a little bit. It's actually not so bad. And the blues there. Right. That seems to be quite a good balance compared to the starting point. Now, if you want to see what you've done since the beginning with AGX, what we can do is take a snapshot. Then we can set AGX to defaults. And then if we click on the snapshot, we can quickly compare. So this is what that's the default, and this is what we've actually obtained now. So we have a much brighter, more contrasty image with better controlled lights there. And if you want to set AGX back to what it was, we have an arrow here, which will send the parameters back to AGX, and then we can remove the snapshot there. Color calibration is the next one. No, not color calibration, sorry. Color balance RGB is the next one I'd like to work with. And I would like to work on the brilliance without giving me some changes in contrast. So I can increase maybe just a tad the highlights. Now I do have this face here which is losing detail. I might want to get some detail back into that face later. And maybe lower the midtones, lower the shadow. So I'm actually adding contrast doing that. Maybe control the saturation of the highlights, which should dim the lights just slightly, because adding saturation always lowers the brightness. So we can do that. You see what it's doing there. And I'm actually getting some detail back in the face. So that's not too bad doing that. And the midtones, I can desaturate the midtones a little bit. There's plenty of colour, so that's not a problem. And if I want to control the spill, I can actually, so I'm desaturating here, and I'm actually just thinking as I'm doing this, why don't I go to AGX where I desaturated one part and I can add saturation back in, you see, as much as I like, to the image. And there I've got a little bit more control over the face and over the spill of the lights. I'm using the two modules against each other there to get the control I want over the lights. Okay, local contrast is one I will usually just switch on by default. There we are, on off, and I'd like to add a vignette, I think, to this one. So I'm going to duplicate the exposure module, and I have made a preset called vignette, where all I did, I just recorded basically an ellipse, which and I have minus 0.64 on the exposure, and what it will do is it will I inverted it. Well, to get the preset, I actually made a vignette, and so with this, it's basically an inverted ellipse, and I lowered the exposure, and when you save the preset, it doesn't save the shape, but as soon as you put the shape back, then the inversion is automatically remade, if you like, and then I can just play with the exposure as I like there. Now I think I'd like to add some color grading to this too. Now I'm going to use color balance RGB module. I'm duplicating that with a right click, control click on the title, color grading. So if I get things wrong, I can just erase that module, and I haven't touched the previous edits I did in this master tab. So I want to go to the 4 ways tab, and I want to see if by adding some hue to the highlights, I can add some drama to the photo. So what I'd usually do is I'd move up the chroma quite high, just so I can see what I'm doing, and then I would move the hue along. That is if I don't have any ideas of what it's going to do. And if I find something where the colours look pleasing, maybe something like this, then I can dial that way down back to 0. So basically there's nothing happening here. See, nothing happening. And now I can adjust a bit of chroma, and that is getting rid of the spill lights around there. I quite like that in the shadows. The highlights, sorry, let's put the chroma up, and we can change the highlights. So am I getting anything more interesting? Maybe around here, some blue to the highlights. I actually quite like that. Add some blue there. And if I push it further, no, because I want to differentiate, you see, the two different colour spotlights. And I think there I've got a bit more differentiation there. And basically, well, that's it for my colour grading, unless I want to add a colour equalizer and maybe just change slightly the hue of this cyan blue. So just the eyedropper there, choose the colour you want to change, move the node and put the node over the line, and then maybe turn that, oh yes, it's down, but the hue is actually giving me something very, very saturated there. I think I need to move the saturation of that way down. This is changing far too much. The hue change is too big. Now if you want that hue change to be done, but you can't, the movements are so small that you can't control it, go to a mask, a blend mask, global blend mask over the screen, and now we can tune this in very gradually. And I think around there is enough for me, which gives it just a slight change, just giving a little bit of pop. You probably can't see that very well on the video, but I can tell you it is giving me a pop. I've put it a bit higher so you can see the difference. Now let's try and get some detail back in the face of this violin player. Now I'm going to use the tone equalizer, which is not my favorite module for two reasons. One is that I don't find it very easy to use. I find it quite unpredictable, and sometimes with artifacts. And the other is that if I want to zoom in, normally I just do mouse wheel, but if I am on this tone equalizer and I'm on the image, then I'm actually changing the exposure, which in one way can be useful but not always desirable. So what you need to do is click on the tone equalizer header and then zoom in and then open it again. Now what I need to get is a good idea. It's useful having this because I can see where I am. I'm overexposing. Now what I want to do is get some good differentiation here, not too far on the side of the module. I'm going to make a mask so it'll only affect this area anyway. And to add contrast, you need to make the node to the right higher and the node to the left lower. And we can actually coax that in there. If we're just looking at the face, maybe that all needs to be in the darks. Maybe it's all too bright. But the idea is here, I would have got some more information a little bit in the face there. And then with a mask, maybe a circular mask with a large feather, maybe if I put that mask in, what do I get? There you see. Now maybe those darks are a little bit dark, so that's 4. I can move that one up a little bit. I can move 4 up just a little bit there if I don't want to touch the others too much. And that maybe is something that'll look good. Tone equalizer. There we are. I think we've kind of got the shape of his head. I think we can see him a little better. Okay, well, let's call it a day for that photo and move on to the next. Now, this image was taken early in the morning when was it? In September, the end of September, 24th of September at 7:30 in the morning. So it was dark. It's a tramway, really, Le Mans, 100 years of the 24-hour race, with quite a nice blurry line. You can't see much here, but with a bit of work, we can get this actually to have quite a lot of character. So I'm going to move the exposure up just a little bit, just so we can see some detail. I'm going to use AGX in the normal way, which is auto-tune the levels. I'm going to add quite a lot of contrast, which is what I think brings the image to life here. Shoulder power. Now you can see we have quite a lot of leeway here on the shoulder. I don't want that much contrast here. Toe power, we can crush the blacks, but not too much. And I would like to add some saturation here, because I think this is one of the keys in this image, is the saturation there. So that is one module used. Local contrast is a good one to use. I have a tendency now to use local contrast because it's fast, rather than the diffuse and sharpen, where we do have local contrasts here. If I can get to there, let's put normal. And I find them quite slow and a little bit too subtle for me. And I don't mind that it's in the display referred workflow after AGX, because I can't see really in this case what it will change for the image. I will use the color RGB, color balance RGB. I am going to maybe increase the saturation. This is going to be quite a saturated photo in the highlights, and maybe reduce it here. There's too much blue in the darks, and to reduce that because I don't like it very much. Maybe we could try and pop out this red here. How could we pop out the red? Well, my first reflex would be to go to color equalizer, click on the red here. Where are we? We're over here. Place the node, and maybe in brightness see what we're affecting there. And we are affecting that there. That's good. We're not affecting much more in the image, actually. That's quite amazing. So there may be, oh yes, I've got that there. And I will make a mask afterwards, just to target this area. Saturation maybe. Come on, let's bring that up. There we are. And the hue seems to be fine. If we want to detach the writing a little bit more, there we are. We'll get the reds back there, and we'll put this in maybe a gradient like so, something like this. I think we need to be very much more precise in that, because it wasn't affecting anything else. So now we've got the writing back there. That gives an extra bit of pop. And could we get some extra pop in this orange maybe? So color equalizer, new task, new module, or new instance of the module. Let's put the node in the right place and maybe increase the saturation, maybe the brightness there. And maybe we could do the blue at the same time here. If I could just pick that blue. We won't be able to change the mode, but could we affect the brightness And you can see now that we're affecting other parts than here, so I will need a local mask. And maybe the saturation is what I want. And if I can move these two up, yes, that is doing something. And the brightness just a little bit. And can we make that a little bit bluer? Yes, just a little bit, and I'll have a drawn mask, maybe an ellipse, a little bit bigger. And that should be fine. What does it do? We go from there to there. So we've got a little bit more visible. I don't need a vignette, although maybe I do, actually, because of this blue going right to the edge, which I'm not particularly fond of. We could also reframe, maybe, do a bit of cropping here. And we could center this completely. Now, I do like using a 4:3 crop. I think I'll go to the original image for this one. And maybe we could crop like that and add a vignette. So exposure, new instance, the vignette preset I made, and then let's have quite a wide vignette. And I'm going to press on Control and Shift to rotate that vignette and elongate it, because I want to keep the writing here and I want to keep the characters there. I should also actually, I think I want to brighten this 100, the 100 years here. So I'm going to have to brighten just that without brightening the rest. So in these cases, when I'm not quite sure which module to use, I'm going to duplicate an instance of exposure, and I'm going to put this, the 100 years mask. I'm going to just try and make a mask. That's it. That's my only plan. So let's look at the hues. Go on the line, press on C. So we're in the yellows there, so that's not too bad. If I could click on the hue, press on M for mask, and then move into, you see this line here, moving. Well, we seem to have most of the 100 writing there. So press on C and get rid of that. Now in, we have the chroma here. I do have, it's actually quite marked out, the chroma there. I'm sure if we can get rid of the very saturated parts. You see what I've done here? No, I have some, there we are, press on C to get rid of that. I still have some remnants. This seems to be a bug. I should just be able to see my mask there and nothing else. And if I move the chroma down, what I'm trying to do is detach just the writing. And you see I'm back to my bugs there. Now, let's see if I can leave that. I open another module, go back to my mask module there, and see if that's better. Now on the 100, there, so I'm actually doing quite well. I can always mask this out with a shape. Can I refine that anymore? Well, if I press on C, get rid of M first, I can see that is lighter. So I should be able to, if I get rid of the darker parts of the image, I see I'm getting rid of that. Let's move that up slowly. I'm starting to lose it, so I'll move back and get rid of the brights. I'm going to start losing that. Alright, so there's not much better to be made out of that, I'm afraid. I could feather the radius just a little bit and then make a shape. So I will add a shape to the mask. Maybe a polygon line here. Just go around. That shape was terrible. Okay, we need that. We don't really need that. We can feather it out. Look, if I move this node in around the 100, and move this one out, and we've got some feathering going on. So that's the mask. We have the white we picked was this here. I think it might actually be okay. And now we need to figure out what to do with it. Well, maybe we could just try, see what exposure does. Yeah, I think we need more contrast in there. So I would be more reliant on color RGB. I'm going to do control, click on the title, the 100 years, I know what I'm doing. And we're going to use the raster mask here, exposure 100 years. And then maybe increase just the highlights and the midtones. Reduce the shadows. Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere with that. I think we need to push it too far. If the highlights are too bright, we can maybe saturate them a bit. Do we want to saturate completely? No, maybe not. I think we've actually done quite a decent job there. And it looks actually quite natural. All right. Well, the last task, something I do quite a lot after the vignette. Yes, I've done that. Sorry, I forgot about that already. Vignette done is diffuse and sharpen. On ICM, I think it works really well. I'm going to just go to presets. I'm going to go to dehaze, default. I'm going to pump this way up. So maybe 22. And this gives, well, that's far too far. This gives quite a lot of definition to the lines, and I think it looks quite surreal, and it gives this kind of a painterly look. And if that's too strong, you can move the edge threshold, and that will attenuate the sharpness of the lines. Or you can move the edge sensitivity up or down. If you want to change the look, that is actually not changing much on this image. So we do want some edge sensitivity. There we are. Put it back there. Well, there we are. This is before and after. So that is quite, that's quite a difference. And I think that's it for this one. We'll leave it there and move on to the third image. So there's quite a lot of work to be done on this image, which was taken at or around sunset on a cloudy day. You know, when you wait, you go to this nice place by the sea and you wait and you wait and you think you're going to get a nice sunset, and then the clouds set in and you get absolutely, well, nothing. But I did get a nice silhouette here, and I was actually waiting on top of the cliff for the sunset, and I was on the way home, and I turned around and I saw this silhouette, and I thought the colours of the sky are nice, and they were bright, and they don't look bright here, so we need to do quite a lot. There we are, AGX, basic, set the white exposure, perfect. Contrast, yes, absolutely. There we are, photo done. Right, what do I need more than that, honestly? I'm going to brighten the shoulder a little bit. Now, do I want to lower the... I don't want to lower the toe because I'm losing the details here. Now, I know you're not supposed to see details and it's all black and it's a silhouette, but what is actually true is that the slightest amount of detail in an area will enable the brain to kind of imagine and create what you want to see or what you imagine is there. Whereas if it's completely black, then you don't know what's there and it's less interesting. Anyway, that's my theory. Saturation. Whoa. Okay. I am going to push that up quite high because I think it needs saturating. And let's have a look. I don't think I need anything done in the primaries, but let's have a look anyway. So this is how I'd go about it when I'm actually working on this. First of all, sorry, not Rec 2020, blend alike or smooth. Well, here, do what we're doing here. Blend alike, yes. Smooth, no. Too pale. Unmodified, why not? Blend alike, unmodified. Let's go for unmodified. That's because we don't have any spectacular bright lights that we need to. The theory is that you'd use this this primaries tab if you have lights that are where you have some channels that are clipping maybe, or very close to clipping, and that modifies the actual color of the light you have. Can we use this for creative effects? Yes, of course, if we just work on the aftertone mapping and we want to boost the red purity. You see, now we can boost it if you like way past, because here we're after, don't forget, we are after AGX, so here we are in display. Now any kind of purity boost, I'm in the greens, but a yellow color has a green component to it, and you can actually change the colors, and the blue will boost quite a lot too. I want to boost that quite some amount, and here I can control the amount of orange by turning rotating the blue. I'm going to make some red appear, or some greens appear, and maybe I got some reds. And if I do the rotation of the greens, I can also get some kind of reds in there, which I like. And then too much red. Don't actually want to change the red very much. And I can exaggerate the rotation here. This is like an opacity slider now. And this is an opacity. So this is opacity for the rotations, and this is an opacity for the color boost. And I think we can push this. Now we do have some clipping in the reds there. So we don't have any clipping in the brightness, but if on the gamut clipping, I am going to be clipping some reds there. So we might have to change something, although quite honestly, although it says I'm clipping there, I can't see anything really wrong with that. Now, something I didn't do in the previous photos, which maybe I should have, was usually I do it kind of first thing I do is denoise and lens correction. I actually have a style where it just adds a couple of modules on that are empty: color calibration, AGX, denoise, lens correction, and automatic. I didn't do that for these photos for the purpose of the video, and I think that's why I forgot. I'm actually really pleased with this image as it is now, and never mind if it's clipping over there because I can't see it. Automatic. Okay, let's get the lines. And should we put this horizontal? Okay, very bad idea. Control Z. Oh dear, okay. Just forget about that. And what you can do, which someone told me this in a comment one day, is whatever part of darktable you're in, if you right click and you draw a line, it will automatically straighten the photo. You don't need a module for that. That's perfect. Now what I'd like now is to add kind of a contrast between the blues and the oranges there. So I think I want to mask out the sky and change the hue. So I have choice of color equalizer or color balance RGB. I'm going to go for color balance. Why would I do that? I don't know. Maybe I could actually just make a mask first, and then I wouldn't have to make it several times. So new instance, mask sky, and we will, I think, gradient. I forgot to pick the gradient there. And mask the sky and have a look at the mask. This part I want bluer, colder. This part is nice and warm. That seems okay to me. Do I want to change the exposure? Maybe to get some more colour. We'll try colour calibration. No, colour. Oh, colour calibration. Oh, what? Oh, good idea. Oh, slip of the tongue gave me an idea. We'll put sky cold. And what we could do is we'll mask out the sky, raster mask sky. So this is what we have. And I could change the colours, and we can either cool it down, or we can actually do a double. We can go to custom white balance and just add in a colour we like. Yeah, something like that. And then, okay, that went way overboard. So that's too blue. We need to move that now. I'm going to right click and use this little slider here, which is more precise. Bring that down. Something like that. Before and after. Too strong, you think? So do I. Double CAT applied. Yes, please. There we are. Now, if I can't get what I want, I could actually, instead of applying a double, the colour calibration, I could mask out both of them. I don't think that's a problem here. So there we are, look. I've added some blues, magentas there. Why didn't it mask it out? I do have it masked out. That's strange, because the mask didn't appear. Right. Yeah, that's better. Because I was changing, I don't know if you noticed, it was changing something down here. The mask didn't appear. Well, there we are. I think that's quite interesting. Do we need to add a bit of local contrast? Why not? You always regret it if you don't. And if the darks are too dark, then maybe we can reduce the effect of the shadows. You see, I'm increasing and reducing the effect on the shadows, and we still have some local contrast, but not in the shadows, because you don't want black clouds. Well, there we are. I think that's quite a change from the beginning, the original. Do I dare show the original? With AGX. Where do I have it? AGX. I'd already done something there. I'm not very good at this. What I can do to show the difference, I know people do this in videos, is duplicate it. Yes, duplicate it. I will get the original. There we are. That's the original. And that's finished. There we are. Done. Proof of concept. Darktables. Fabulous. Right, well, I'm going to leave you there after these 3 photos, and I will wish you a very good day. Bye-bye then.